That's as best I can do.
We're recording.
Okay.
Excellent. So I'll take some notes too. So if I ask you to repeat, I apologize ahead of time.
Yeah, no problem.
So thank you.
Brian, you should be able to share your screen.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out which one of my monitors I need here.
Well,
I think it's. Okay, are you guys seeing my map?
we're seeing a map with some tan lines and black lines and dots and things like that.
It's the one we want. I'm trying to get. I have a zoom box over the top of my menu, so give me just a sec. Okay, there it goes. So I'm not going to be able to do much with zoom in the way here. So,
yeah, you can just slide it out of the way.
Yeah, I got it. And then I'm going to open. I have a few things off screen here, so give me just a second to get those opened up. So basically it's just a real simple partition. It's actually, if I zoom out a little bit, it's this partition right here I did earlier this year. I was going to back that one out and redo it for you guys, and I realized it'll fit. I can fake it into this lot just as easy right here. And then I'm just in a copy of my data, so I'll just blow this away when I'm done. But let me pull up. I wrote a little script here. Okay, so my process for putting in a partition plat. The first thing I'm going to do is I create my record, my revision. So we're going to create a record. As far as naming, what we're using for naming on them, it just corresponds to our revision naming convention in our tax system that helps us track the revision through when it goes to my appraisal staff. So this one's 2024 dash, I don't actually have a number for it, so it's called XX. It's a partition plat. It's partition P 2024-02. We capture the recording number on it. And we capture the recording date, which I don't have in front of me. So let's go 1-1 and then create the record. Okay. And then the next thing I do is we set that ground to grid correction. So it's right down here. And on this one, it's going to be and that was the north line here along the road. So that'll give me my ground to grid correction.
So when you do that ground to grid, you just put in the bearing distance and select the line, like any points on the line at all. It doesn't matter.
In any point, you just want to draw a line that's parallel with whatever you've used as your base of bearing.
Okay.
So I just typed it in off of, I've got the plat right here off screen that I'm working on. So I just used this bearing right here. One of the things that did trip me up the first time was I wasn't paying attention. I would key it in and then snap the line going the wrong way and end up 180 degrees out. And that simple mistake, but it really messed me up on a couple of revisions. I couldn't figure out what was going on. And it had literally rotated the basis of bearing 180 degrees out. So it was like Kogoed, it was Kogoing backwards.
Okay.
And
good little tip.
Yeah, it was a really silly little mistake, but really messed me up because it wasn't even on my radar what I had done wrong there. Hadn't thought about it and had snapped the line the wrong direction. So set the ground to grid. I'm just reading through my little script here. Oh, so then I just jump into Kogoing. I've kind of set my most used tools right here on this little bar. So I just hit my Kogo. Wait a second for that to load.
Is this a branch version of this version, or are you just in the geodatabase?
It's a branch version.
Okay, good. Thank you.
So I'm going to go on plat lines. And I'm going to open up that plat again so I can see it. Here I am. Okay, there it is. Set my starting point. I'm just going to start right here. Okay, so it shows me I have a misclosure of one 100th of a foot.
So you just Kogo'd the exterior boundary of.
Yep, just did the exterior boundary of the plat. If it's within, I forget what my tolerance is set, but if it's within your tolerance, it will automatically apply your default closure method. You can go in and change the closure method if you want. I don't know which one you want to use. You can ask your county surveyor. I did and ended up with about a 4-hour discussion on that I didn't understand most of. So I just picked the one that makes the least changes to my Kogo there usually. And then we'll just accept that. Got some lag going here. Okay, seems like it's in there. Okay. Then we come up to workflow. So if I turn off my tax lot so you can see it, I'm working off screen here for a second, but if I turn off those tax lots, just a second here, why? I have a lot of lag going here. You'll see that it's just got those, they're nearly coincident with it, but if we zoom in on here, you see that it didn't quite line up with them. So what we're going to do is it is waiting for something because my record HUD is gone and it's not letting me. Oh, there we go. There's my blue spinning wheel. There we go. So you can see that's what I just Kogo'd.
You just turned off your tax lots to get to this, right?
Yeah, I just turned them off so you guys could see what I
Yeah.
just Kogo'd. Now it's waiting for them to turn back on.
Right.
Think.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know if it has to do with the Zoom or what, but I'm getting a lot of lag time here when I click on stuff. So it should be turning those tax lots back on, but we'll see if it'll. So
always the way it goes with demos, Brian. It's
yeah. I'll do a live demo. What could go wrong? So then next step, it's going to make me wait for those tax lots, I'm sure, but we'll try. So we'll create the seed. It'll look for anything in the active parcel that has a closed boundary and create a seed. So it's only created a seed at this point on my my plat boundary because I don't have any lot lines in there yet. And then we'll build.
I'm wondering if your tax lot lines, your little I'm working thing, which is working right now, but it isn't.
There they go.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. I'm gonna turn the tax lots off there. So okay. So we built the the plat. So now we have the plat polygon and the plat lines. The next thing we want to do is align these, because like I said, when we zoomed in, we weren't quite coincident on those. This was probably the part that took me the most practice to figure out. Once you do it a few times, it's not bad, but it can be quirky, I'll say. So we want to drop an anchor point on this one. Should match. This is where we started, so we're going to drop an anchor point there.
What's that little buffer that's surrounding the lines?
When you click assign or align parcels, it automatically creates that buffer. It will do an auto select. The auto selects never worked real consistently for me. So I just place my points myself. I'm not seeing the points. So I'm thinking I've got it turned off. So let me go check my table of contents. Here we go. Anchor points and links. I don't normally leave those turned on when I'm working. I'll just turn them on for this process. So we put an anchor point there, and then we're going to add links to each of these. And it doesn't matter which way you click. I learned that. I thought I had to go the way I wanted it adjusted, but you can just click the links either way.
That's nice.
Yeah.
In old ArcMap, it was in order. It used to drive me crazy.
And I'll show you guys, as soon as I get these set, I'll show you, we can adjust it two different ways. We can either adjust the new stuff to fit the old stuff, or we can adjust the old stuff to fit the new stuff. So now we've got an anchor point and we've got a link on each corner, and it'll tell us how far each of those corners. It's labeling the length of those links we just put in. So then we have the partition, the plat boundary selected. So I'm going to turn on my tax lots because we want to make sure we adjust those. There they are. And so if we just hit a line at this point, we have the new plat polygon selected. So if we hit a line, it's going to adjust that to fit the existing line work. If we want to adjust the existing line work to the new line work, you have more confidence in the new information going in, then you toggle selection to surrounding parcels. When I do this, it's going to select all of the tax lots that touch what we just drew or within a buffer of it. And then when I hit align,
So while it's aligning, why are you co-going the plat and not just going straight to co-going in the tax lot?
so the order I go in, and we'll cover that in a minute here. I co-go my plat first, get it aligned so I know that I have my boundary aligned. Then I copy that to the lots and create the lots. And then I'll copy that to the tax lots and create the final tax lots out of it. So I do my plats, partitions, and subdivisions in that order so that I'm maintaining all three parcel types. So now if we zoom in, we should be aligned right on that corner. So now we know our new plat aligns with the existing line work. I actually, in this case, adjusted the existing line work to match the new plat.
And it just automatically adjusted it however it needed to be to fit the new plat.
It did. Like I said, this was the one area that probably took me the longest to figure out. It's really easy to adjust the new stuff to fit the old, and I'll do that sometimes. I'll actually sometimes do that if I know if my fit's really bad, because I don't want to redraw an entire map to try to correct it. If I don't
Right.
have survey data around it, sometimes it's just, I mean, it's not worth the effort. So I just align it with what is there. This was a really simple one, which is why I chose it. It's basically just a square. I knew it was going to align really well. When you get into more complex shapes, I have seen trying to align the existing data to the new data on a complex shape will do some really strange stuff. I've had it just blow polygons, create big gaps, kind of rubber sheet and stretch stuff around. So it's one area I don't know what's going on there that I still need to do some more practice, but for the most part, if you get a good anchor point or two, and you do all your points, I think what happens on a complex shape is if you don't have a link on each, like in this case, it wouldn't do it here, but if you had a link on this corner and a link on this corner, but not in the middle, it can sometimes do some funny stuff with that middle point. In this case, they were all collinear, so it just, let me put my foot in my mouth here. It should have just aligned this one. When I tested it Monday, it aligned this one correctly. Yeah, it looks like we're collinear on that one still. I've just had it do some really funny stuff, and it's always when I'm trying to align the existing data to the new data, it will sometimes do some kind of wonky, and I just back out of it then and figure something else out.
Yeah.
If I've got something that doesn't, really doesn't fit, before I even get to this process, I'll go through and COGO everything onto a construction line and just do some, if I need to do some major fixes to the map before I can fit it in, I'll do all that before I ever get to the COGO stage. But that's more of a map maintenance, if
Yeah.
it's the first time an area has been surveyed.
I'd imagine this process with curves is a little bit more of a challenge.
Curves can get curves in the old data can get really funky. I've had that do some weird stuff too, where it creates these kind of spirally, creates gaps around them, and it'll extend the curve the wrong way. I've had that happen a couple times. The new data is not, if I'm working with new data, especially stuff that I've already drafted in Parcel Fabric, it seems to work really well. It figures out the curves and it matches them to the curves. It's usually working with my old converted data that's been converted 3 or 4 times. I'll sometimes get some weird. Okay, I'm going to turn off tax lots again. So we're just working on the
Old to new. That's the secret.
So at this point, I'll attribute the plat. So it's P, what do we call it? Just, I don't think I actually gave it a number. And again, we capture the document number. Oh, wait for it to update. Okay, and then that's it for the plat boundary. So we'll copy lines 2. It's popping it off on off screen here, so I'll bring it over for you guys. If I go copy lines 2, brings up this little dialog, and I want to copy them to lots. I'm going to build my lots layer next. And it will take the lines of that boundary that we just drafted, and it's going to copy them to the lots lines layer. And it will automatically create a seed for the the lines we just created. So I'm going to turn the plats off so we can see those. So those are the lot lines. It'll automatically create a seed, but we're going to add another line in here and create another seed. So take this line and I'm going to divide it. And we want to go from the end of the line. Plant here again. It was 56, 6. Same thing on this line. This time I'm going to go from the start of the line, and I think it's the same dimension. Yeah, same dimension. Okay, and then for the line connecting those, as soon as it catches up with me here. I use the Kogo tool most of the time for this. That way it'll capture my Kogo information. So lot lines, and then I'm just doing one line. I'll start it there. End it there, and it's and then what we can do for the closure is just do a snap last one. I mean, it closed 0. I'll still hit adjust. That way it aligns it between those points, but it captures the Kogo attributes I put in. So they're on that line now. And then you have a choice for the seed. The seed that it automatically created, it will attribute some of the fields, anything that came over with a matching field from the plat boundary. And so we can either take that one and copy it into the other, what will eventually be the other lot, and it will bring those over, or you can just hit create seed and it will find any closed areas that don't have a seed in them and create those seeds. When you create it using the create seeds tool, the new one that's created won't have those attributes brought over. So that's how I usually do it. I don't generally worry about, I can attribute them right here. So then I just select both of them. And you can attribute them either as a seed or once you build the polygons from them, but it's P X cat blocks off and it's not only. Is the north one there, so that's lot 1.
You're updating the seed attributes just so when you create the new poly,
Yeah.
it just automatically.
Yep. It's they're a polygon on the polygon layer. They're just, the polygon is a circle. So it has all the same attribute fields. So you can attribute them here, or you can build your polygons, build your parcels from the seeds, and then attribute them then. I go both ways. It doesn't
matter.
Yeah, just kind of however the mood strikes me, I guess, when I feel like doing it.
Do you have your processes documented all at all, or is this kind of like
I do, and I will put something together to send you guys. I documented a lot of my revision processes about 1.5 years ago when I started doing this. And I was looking through them the other day, and a lot of them have changed. So
Sure.
I need to redocument them.
yeah.
Yeah, I just basically have a generic script, line by line, kind of outline script. Why doesn't it want to create my seeds? Lines and extent down. Okay, something didn't, I'm betting that line right there didn't snap shut.
Mhm.
I'm glad you asked if you had to. That'd be great.
That looks like it's closed. Well, and this one to the south must be closed because it created a seed, but it won't. It's telling me that the lines aren't closed, so I can't. This was not part of the script, but it happens, so.
So when you did the build, is that the problem?
Yeah,
You're
the
saying
build's
build and
the
it doesn't-
build's telling me something's not closed and it won't build. No, now it's going.
Yeah, because normally it wouldn't make you the seeds if it didn't close.
Yeah, that's what I realized as I was looking at those corners. It created the seed, so they must. Now it looks like it's going to go. So I don't know what that was. So there's the 2 lots created. And so the next step, we already attributed them. So the next step is I will create the tax lots from them. Actually, I don't want to select those yet. So let me turn my tax lots back on. And turn those lots off. So I'm going to select the parent tax lot. Script back up here. Yep. And we're going to set that historic. And all it's doing for the set historic is it's assigning the ID of this record to the retired by. So then it disappears because it's now retired by. I can turn on my historic tax lots and you'll see that it's in there as a historic tax lot now. And turn plats back on. And this is one area I'm still not sure what best practice is. I've kind of gone both ways. When we copy these lines to the tax lots, we're going to end up with duplicate tax lot lines around these edges. I was initially setting them historic with the parent tax lot, I don't know that that's necessary. I've got some areas where I know I just have duplicate tax lots stacked, or tax lot lines stacked up on top of each other. Copy to tax lots. If this were, partitioning maybe both these lots, so you would have a historic line, well, partition we get rid of. If it were two parent tax lots, you would need to put a historic, set a historic line between the two. Otherwise, when you run topology, it's going to see those two historic lots and not have a tax lot line. So I do have historic tax lot lines in that instance. That doesn't feel like that was real clear. But in this case, where the lines on the edge are still coincident with the new lines, it won't need them on historic. There's just, they could be duplicated, or you could go through and delete them and take them out. I've kind of gone all different ways with it and haven't really decided what the best method's going to be for that.
When you take them, you set them to historic, it takes them out of the current.
It takes them out of the current. It does the same thing. It just sets a retired by record on there. So they're still in there. So a case of like a combination where you combine, say we were going the other way, we were combining these two tax lots, we'd have two historic tax lot polygons and then one current one. Well, the two historic will need a line on top of that, the edge of those tax lots, when you run your topology. So in that case, you would want to have a historic tax lots line. In this case, it's not. I'm going to try to show you guys here. So when I copied them over, I have any tax lot lines that aren't attributed, don't have a line type in them. I have in this fat red line just so I can spot them and know that I need to go and attribute those. But what it did, I'm waiting for the tax lots. There we go. So what it did was it copied that new tax lot line on there, but the old tax lot line is still underneath there. Oh, and I still got lots on too, so I can turn those off. So if I select that line there, I've got the new. No, it did set. Did I set those historic? So now I don't even remember. There we go. So I've got that original line still there, and then I've got the new lines that we just co-goed in. I was setting these historic for a while. Most of the time now I'm just deleting them out.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you've got lines stacked on top of each other, what does that do when you go to create your polygons?
It doesn't. It won't affect it. I apparently can't select these though. I mean, I can leave them there and we can create them. I'll show you guys now. Let me turn my tax lots back on. So same thing as the lots. When I copied the lines to tax lots, it created the two seeds. And then I can go build.
Oh, right. So you're creating the polygons from the seeds, not from the line feature. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's gonna create those when it expands those out. When it builds them, it's looking for the lines though, and because those lines were coincident in this case, it's going to build out to the lines of this active record, the ones that belong to this record. So now I can select those selected. Which one's which?
So the design idea with that particular one is so that if your tax lot to the east, the line associated with it, with the tax lot 04000, it's going to be coincident, but it's actually longer.
Right.
That way you can keep both lines, the longer original line and the two smaller parts.
Yes.
But the cool part is you don't have to.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the bad thing, because you have to decide, and
yeah,
what you decide is what Poke did, what we saw Kirsty do last week is she actually selected the surrounding polygons, shrunk them all to seeds, deleted the borders. I didn't delete the borders, assigned the borders to the historic, and then brought it in and connected everybody up.
Okay.
And that way she's made the decision to always only have one line. But again,
Okay. And that's,
it's your choice, which is
yeah.
cool.
And that's kind of where I'm going with it, is only having the one line. One of the reasons at this point, because I'm still dealing primarily with converted data, was the new lines we just Kogo'd are associated to this record. I don't have a record over this because this is converted data. So that longer line doesn't belong to a record. It belongs, I think we put in the map index as a converted.
Yep, that's where it went.
Yeah. And so if I came in and then I partitioned this one and its line was somewhere else, I could see, yeah, I've got this line then belongs to this parcel in this record, where the two lines, maybe if this was partitioned over here, would belong to this one. But because still 99% of my data is converted data, I haven't been preserving those. Where I've kind of gone back and forth is whether or not I save them on historic lines or I just delete them. I was saving them on historic lines, and then I didn't necessarily because I still have an active line. But I don't know. I've gone back and forth, to be honest. I'm a little wishy-washy on that one.
But it doesn't matter. So
right. Yeah. Each county just can decide how they're gonna handle that. So then I just want to wait for this to catch up, and I'm going to attribute the tax lots here. Okay, so that's the north one. So what were we, 3,900? So it's going to make up a number there. 3,901. The attribute, the rules will automatically fill out my tax lot, my map tax lot, and my ORMAP number.
using the attribute rules. How cool.
Oh, I use lots of attribute rules. I don't remember. I lost my plat here. That was, it was a square footage. I was thinking it was an acreage. So 1, 4, 2.
I do have a new tool that will update that from the Kogo attributes.
The lot size?
Yeah, the legal and the map and the yeah, the square foot, the legal area and the map acres. And obviously it's coming from the Kogo, so it should be pretty close to what's on the plat.
I've got some areas where I know it's not.
Yeah, well.
Depends on how much massaging I have to do to get it to fit in there.
Yeah. Well, no, it's coming from the Kogo attributes though.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's calculating off the Kogo even if we've had to adjust it.
Yep,
Nice.
yep. So this is the downside of using the attribute rules, that every time you're making an update to the table, it's going through and trying to do the rules again, even if they
Right.
don't apply to that particular
Right.
field.
So there's
So-
always a little bit of lag here.
Yeah.
Whatever's got it lagging this morning. This is a lot longer than I'm normally waiting for these to.
But normally what kicks in that way is that it's trying to reapply the attribute rules, and under normal circumstances, it's a lot less, but like you say.
Yeah, there is still
there's
just enough
something
there.
going on.
And so then I still need to do something with these lines. So I'm going to turn tax lots off.
Just for my curiosity, where are the seeds stored at? They don't create a new layer in the contents window, I'm guessing.
They're in the, they're just in the polygon layer.
They're
Like I
in-
said,
okay.
it's a polygon in the polygon layer. Here, I'll show you in just a second. I'll pull my table of contents on my other monitor. So I'll pull it over
Yeah.
and kind of show you how
You,
that.
you actually have them turned on in your project file for you guys in that you can, there's a field in the attribute table for tax lots and for lots that says is seed. And that is turned on when there's a seed, but it's a polygon.
Yeah.
It's just a
Okay,
very
I
tiny
see.
circular polygon.
Yeah.
And then when you hit build, it essentially grows, hence the word seed. It
Yeah.
just grows it out to the closed polygon boundaries that it finds.
Okay, I see. It's got tax lot, parcel, and then
Yep.
seed.
Yep.
So see if you go in parcel and then seed, and they're just symbolized, and they're symbolized based on that is seed field. So they're right in the same layer there.
Okay, I see it. Okay, thanks.
So this is where I'm just selecting these lines. These are all of my existing before this partition. So you could either set those historic, or I've just been getting rid of them. I think that one's, yeah, that's my right of way.
Brian, if you were gonna set it to historic, is it a whole nother process? You just hit that set historic button.
Same thing, just hit set historic. And as long as you have an active record, this set historic will be, if you don't have a record active, this will be grayed out, so you can't hit it. But
Okay,
if you have an active one, that button's available, and whatever you have selected, if it has a created by, retired by record over here, it
Yeah.
will set the retired by. It'll take that ID and put it in the retired by. And
so
then I just have everything symbolized based on whether or not it's retired or active, whether or not there's something in that field. If that field's null, it means it's active, and I symbolize it one way. If there's something in the retired by, it means it's retired, and you symbolize it a different way.
So when you set historic for the parent polygon, it's the same process as the lines.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Just click the button.
You just
See,
select
right now
one at a time.
it's prompting me to set these lines. I just selected historic, which wouldn't make any sense of the new ones we just created. But as soon as I select something and have an active record, this button becomes available.
Okay,
So I'm just gonna
thank you.
this personally. Yeah, no worries. Something's going on because I'm still seeing the points from my traverse tool too. So, and the last thing I would do for the Parcel Fabric here is we're going to run the Parcel Fabric topology on it. We'll see all the things I messed up this morning.
So while we're waiting for that, so the parcel seed, if it's yes in the attribute table, then is there another table somewhere that stores all the information that's within the seed? I mean, there must be.
No, it's right there. So let me show. I have an idea of how to show that. Let me turn on my tax lots here.
It's not like a relational database kind of thing.
Nope.
No, it's just all the attributes that
Yeah.
are in the tax lot
It's all the
polygon
same.
table.
All the same attributes. So
Okay.
I'm going to pick the one here next to it, the one that we haven't been messing with this morning. And so in my attributes, you can see my fields, and there's a lot more fields. I've narrowed down what's here, but see, is seed is no. If I change this, it'll let me, the lag is, if I change that to yes,
Then it'll create the circle.
yep, it'll shrink that down to a seed. There's another tool to do that too. I'll show you guys that because really, and you mentioned Chrissy's doing it too, shrinking them to seeds, tweaking your line work, and then reconstructing from seeds is a really, I didn't actually shrink it to the seed. I wondered how that would work. Okay, so we're going to go back to no, and I'll show you the other tool. I didn't know if that would work or not. I was going to try.
That would have been cool, Brian, but no cigar.
Yeah, but there's a tool to do that. But you can see that all the other attribute fields are still there. It's
Okay,
just what it looks like. Yeah. So there is this other tool I want to show you though when we're.
Okay.
I never actually tried that. I was wondering how that was going to work. But up here under quality, there's shrink to seed. So if we click that one, it'll take the selected polygon we have, and that will shrink it down to that circle. And there it is. And if we select that, I mean, it's still the same attribute. You're going to have all the same fields. It's the same data.
It's just a circle now.
It's just a seed.
Circle.
Yeah, it's just a little circle in the center.
All right.
And so they're all still there. And then right next to it, you have reconstruct from seed. Where this comes in really handy is if you take, say you need to do, and I use it a lot for maintenance, not necessarily revisions. I use it sometimes in revisions, but if we needed to come in and make a change to this somehow, you could select these two, shrink them both to seeds, then go through and rework your line work in between, and then reconstruct from seed, and it will grow them back to that new adjusted line work.
Okay. Gosh, who thought of this? That's an interesting approach to doing this.
And that took me a while. Do you guys go to, okay, changing gears real fast. Do you guys go to the Parcel Fabric meetup that Esri does? I would highly recommend that if you're working in Parcel Fabric. That's where you'll learn so many tips and tools there. And so for a lot of time when I was doing my maintenance, I'd have to come in and I'd need to move my line work and then move the polygons. And there was a lot of snapping, a lot of moving. That shrink to seed and reconstruct from seed saves so much time.
Yeah, we haven't gone to those meetups. We haven't been working in Parcel Fabric yet. We're still learning the process.
They did. I thought it was kind of funny. They were talking about, they did 14 of them last year, so better than one a month. And I think so far this year we've had one. So, but yeah, those are really good. That's a really good resource to go to those meetups. I don't have anything. Is my topology? Yeah, so my topology is turned on. So I didn't get any errors on that. From what we did, the topology errors would just show up kind of like in ArcMap, the little red or pink points or lines or areas. So there's nothing to fix on the topology there. That's it for Parcel Fabric. Everything else I do, the annotation, the reference lines, I'm doing those pretty much the same as I was in ArcMap. I know there's some tools to do them. I don't have most of them configured and running. I just do them manually.
So were those errors, will it show things like slivers and overlaps and stuff like that?
You got to learn to interpret it. What it will do is, like, say we had a sliver coming up here between these two lots, you know, maybe they met at this point, but there was a little gap up here. So the Parcel Fabric topology is not the same as the ORMAP topology. It's not necessarily looking for gaps, but what would happen is if we only had one taxlot line and then say this polygon, this is junk data, I can mess with it. I'm going to select that new polygon.
So, Brian, one of the things that Gabe and Jeff really struggle with is just messing with annotation in Pro versus ArcMap.
Okay,
So if there's a little bit you could show there, that'd
Yeah.
be great. I think that that's just been one of the challenges that we've
Okay.
discussed, and I don't do Anno, so it's hard for me to show some of those tools.
yeah. Let me mess this up a little bit so I can kind of show you guys the topology real quick. If I go into edit, what I'm going to do is make a gap here. Just slide this over so we have a gap between them.
Thinking hard about this.
Yeah, it is. It's getting slower as we go. Okay. It's not wanting to snap either.
And while this is waiting, the topology, fabric topology rules are available in the documentation if you want to look at those at some point. And there's some attribute rules associated with it, like feature must have record and some of those basic things. So they're out there as well.
Okay, so we've created a sliver there. So now if I run topology, hopefully this won't take too long. What it's going to find is there won't be a taxlot line on top of this western, the parcel here to the left, to the west. So yeah, it's going to find an error there. It's going to say there's no taxlot line on top of this. Now this is a really good case of where that shrink to seed. If you find you have a sliver like that, instead of like I just did trying to drag that vertice to close that gap, we can just shrink it to seed and then reconstruct from seed, and it will reconstruct it to that line. It is really getting slow. Okay, so now select that.
So is this running from a URL from your SQL server?
Yeah. So
Enterprise
I'm on
server?
enterprise. We're on an Amazon Web Service deployment.
Oh,
So
okay.
and like I say, I'm also working remotely. I'm at home today. So I usually have a little bit more lag, but not like this. I will.
Hmm.
My plan is to reboot as soon as we're done
Yeah,
here and
yeah.
try to figure out what's going on. And it didn't find that. I only ran the topology on that little window, so it didn't find, but that gap should run all the way down there.
Mm.
But I'll show you guys if we select that, shrink to seed. I'll do this sometimes if I've got some errors, on this line between these two, something's not matching up right. Shrink both of them and then reconstruct, make sure you only have one line, the line you want between them, then reconstruct both of them and they'll both meet at that line. It's a lot faster way of cleaning up.
I wonder if pros like ArcMap used to be, where if you started getting, after a while of using a single ArcMap project, you get kind of cattywampus. And if you just saved it as a new, renamed it,
I
saved it. I wonder if pros similar.
I remember having to do that because it would just, the file size would just get huge.
Yeah.
What I found and what I'm suspecting is going to happen is once I'm off with you guys, I'll close it and it'll tell me I have a bunch of stuff saved to my clipboard.
Oh,
It
yeah.
does that periodically and it
Yeah.
really slows it down. And so
Yeah.
I just close and reopen and it's back. But
Yeah.
if
We have
reconstruct-
not had the bloat that we used to get in ArcMap over time.
Yeah.
I haven't noticed that either. So
Yeah. Same thing, Brian. Like if you close, it kind of clears the decks and you just
Yep.
close it and reopen and you're set to go again.
Yeah.
And I've noticed some days I've never really paid attention to if it's task specific, but some days I'll have to do that multiple times a day. And then other times I can run for days and not have an issue. So I've never really paid close enough attention to what I'm doing when it causes that. So.
While this is going, Brian, yeah, I think the biggest thing with Anno is that it's just been because of the slight differences or major differences, whatever, between ArcMap and ArcPro, is just trying to make sure that things can happen efficiently.
Okay.
With
I'll
Anno.
Yeah, I'll show you guys my Anno process on this. Like I said, I'm
Thank
doing
you.
it more or less the same way I did it in ArcMap. But Pro has a few other tools that I actually like, that do make it a little more efficient.
I'm so glad you said that. And I didn't pay him to say that.
That's what
I don't believe that.
I said more efficient. I didn't say it was efficient. That's a low bar.
We've just really struggled. We use the follow feature tool a lot.
That's what I use. Yeah.
And so that one, especially on a curve, when it labeling creek or something, it's been really, really nice. And we haven't found anything that's close to replicating that, and it's just more cumbersome than it was before.
Okay. Well, I'll show you guys how I'll annotate at least part of this one, and we'll take a look. So I ran the topology. Just to catch up and. And you can see that topology error is gone. So when it grew that seed, when it reconstructed that seed, it came out and met that line, did away with that gap. It's not specifically the Parcel Fabric topology is not specifically looking for gaps, but it's looking for other errors that will usually correspond with a gap like that. Okay, let's annotation. So I'm going to turn these off. Annotation on.
So just as a point of process while it's doing this, you do all your fabric stuff sort of with all that other gunk turned off. And then you turn all this other stuff on, and then you're
Yep.
annotating basically what you've created in the fabric. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
And I do all my parcel fabric. Like I said, if it's complicated, if I go it out and it just really doesn't fit, I'll do sort of some, well, that's still in Parcel Fabric, I guess, because you've got to make the corrections more maintenance mapping. Then I do all my Parcel Fabric work, my polygons for plats, lots, tax lots, all the line work for those. Then I go on to the layers that are more map related. So the subdivision boundaries, the annotation, stuff like that.
And that's outside of the fabric, right? So we
Yeah, because those aren't part of the fabric.
You're just
So
done with the fabric, right? So you
I'm
just-
done. At this point, we're done with the fabric.
Okay.
Kind of everything else we do is just to produce a map.
Right.
So none of it gets exported in my export files. I run weekly batch files to export all the data and build data sets out of them. That's only looking at the Parcel Fabric features. The rest of this is just to make a pretty map, as I like to say. So I just use create features. And a 100, let's do a bearing and distance. Actually, let me jump into another project here and see if it'll run any, or into another map here and see if it'll, no, it's still gonna probably wait.
Are you using the cancel number tool, Brian?
I'm not.
Okay,
I
I don't use it either. I just was curious.
Yeah, I think that was one of them I got set up and running. I had to do, so right after I did the demo at Osaka, I had to do a reinstall and lost a lot of the configuration on my tools I had set up. And I just never bothered setting a few of them back up. So I just manually enter the canceled number into my canceled number table.
Yep.
So roads are dupes down on the right. Just like how we have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no acreage on those parcels down there.
They're too tiny.
For quite a while, I wasn't putting lot sizes on anything that was subdivided. And now I don't put them on stuff that's subdivided because yes, it's too small to fit.
Yeah.
We have a lot of subdivisions that I can barely fit a tax lot number in.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Up around Newburgh, stuff's getting really, really dense, really small tax lots. I'm looking for my switched over. So I'm over in my table of contents and it's I'm trying to want to turn. I was just going to see if it would respond any faster in here. So this isn't the plat I was working on, but I mean, I can make up numbers. It doesn't look like it's any faster. So maybe I'll just jump back. I use follow feature for doing bearing and distance. Let's make up a bearing. on arrow distance on it. Click on the feature, it'll take it a second to or a few seconds to catch up. There, and now it follows the feature, and then I can come up and it will give me a snap on the center point of that line, wherever that is. Or if you want it, you know, but it's going to be offset. If you want it on the opposite side of the line, there's a tool down here. If I click that, it will keep the line that it's following, but it'll snap it to the other side of it. You can kind of go back and forth like that.
Can you control the offset it is from the line?
No, not well. Yes and no. I remember setting that somewhere, but it's not real easily set from the tool, and I don't remember where I set that, because when I originally started doing it this way, it was touching the line, so I did go in and set that offset somewhere.
I wonder if that's in the options or something.
That's what I'm thinking. Was I dug into the options menu, found it somewhere in there, and was able to do
Text and graphics. Let's see. Oh, probably.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'm just thinking out loud. Okay.
I don't see it in. I remember that one took me a while, because when I first started placing them there, it was placing them. They were still left to right of the line, but it was right on the line. There was no gap, no offset in there. One of the things I don't like about annotation is placing the tax lot number and lot size. In ArcMap, you could snap those together. You can't snap annotation in Pro. So everything is just sort of eyeballed in there. It's kind of like going back to the old Mylar days, I guess.
Yeah.
That is one feature, because I always snapped all those together. I would just have, you know, when you it's still going to run. So when you would select it, you could have a grip, you know, the lower corner on the tax lot number and the upper corner on the lot size, and be able to snap those together. And I haven't been able to find that. And in fact, confirmed with what research I found, is confirmed there's no way to snap annotation once you upgrade your annotation to work in Pro. But other than that, I mean, like I said, it's pretty basic caveman stuff. I just use the create feature and follow features to do my bearing and distances, anything where I want it on a line. For the rest of this stuff, I just place it. You know, when we do a plat number,
So if something's not placed where you want it to be, you just have to manually rotate it or move it or whatever.
yeah. So like these ones, when you place a piece of text, I'm in the wrong annotation here. Let's see if I can. Yeah, I've got the wrong turned on. Oh, there's my Anno 100. Okay. So as soon as you place it, you can go into the attributes, and I just change it in the attributes. So you just got, if your default's not set, somehow I ended up with my 100 Anno is defaults to shadow, but my 400 Anno doesn't default to shadow. So I just have to change it to shadow, and then I can just change the angle of it. Oops.
She's changed. That's cool. You just changed the angle there.
Yeah.
Can you find a curve too, also to show us how you do that?
Yeah. Let me.
Really our biggest pet peeve.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. So for curved, right next to follow feature, there's a curved annotation.
Mhm.
I kind of go back and forth between these two. Yeah, I'll show. Probably most of the time I use just follow feature. And again, we'll just make up a size on this. It will, if you use the curved annotation, it will actually curve the annotation, but I find it looks really funny a lot of times when it
Yeah.
does. So I use the follow feature and still use straight annotation, but I follow the curve with it. So this is another one. I don't want it labeled in the cul-de-sac. So if I just switch the side of the line, it'll put it up to the outside.
So it's still drawing it straight though. It's not.
It's drawing it straight. You can draw it curved. In a cul-de-sac like this, it will probably work okay. We'll give it a try.
Sure. I'm just
Yeah. I found I didn't like the way it looked. Sometimes it seems to space it out way too much.
yeah.
And I'm sure that's another setting.
Yeah. So this
No,
was the
this
same
is-
one. This was the same. ArcMap had this same one, and I know what you're saying.
This
Yeah,
is
the-
not the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, that's the one that we used to use. That was
Yeah, that's
didn't
not the
enjoy as much.
Yeah, like I said, I usually use follow feature, but I thought maybe it was a setting somewhere else where you can tell it to curve. I normally just put them in straight. If it's someplace, I'll use curved text, like sometimes like road names, if it's a curved road, and it seems to do better there. Where usually when I'm annotating the cul-de-sac like this, I just use straight and just off, follow along and put it about the middle of the line.
So with it upside down like that, you would just use the.
It does this after I've placed a few pieces of annotation. It'll kind of get confused.
Yeah.
Oh,
We've had that issue.
I'm getting an internet connection warning, so that may be part of our issue too. If you just go to, let's see, edit. If you wait for it to catch up, and then you go to edit. If you click on the annotation under edit while it's still selected, and then you can right click, and there's a flip annotation. There it goes. So I'll just flip the annotation and then just keep going, if I was doing the next line and the next line. And yeah, I'm pretty basic on the annotation. I'm still kind of caveman level on that.
Okay. Thank you for showing us that.
Yeah, no worries. Any other questions? Stuff you want me to show you? I'm gonna jump back into our demo here and try to remember that I have some stuff I need to clean up in that.
We're good. I mean, he did.
I think this is really good for us. I appreciate all these demos. This one probably follows our process the most closely.
Okay.
Which has been very, very helpful. So I really appreciate that. And
Good to hear.
any if you happen to send that documentation down to us for us to
Yeah,
follow.
I'll clean it up. Like I said, I kind of wrote a new one to sort of give myself a script to follow today. And then I'll clean that up a little bit. I looked over the ones I did originally, and I've just changed my processes. I mean, they're still they're pretty basic steps. Do this, do this, do this. It's going to vary just like an ArcMap. It's going to vary with every revision. Each one's going to have kind of different steps than the others, or need
Right.
something else. But
Right.
yeah, I'll put that together. What I have is a document that's like a rough outline of a partition plat, a rough outline. I would say lot line adjustments might be mine that have changed the most. I use that shrink to seed and reconstruct from seed. And then the other thing I do that has changed from when I demoed it, I'll make a copy of the tax lot. So say I was going to now lot line adjust. It's going to run so slow. I don't want to try to do it. If I was going to lot line adjust these two, what I would do is select the two polygons, copy them so that I have two here and two, just copy it right on top of each other. Set the original set to historic. So I have my historic tax lots archived. Then I would take the new one, shrink them to seed, make whatever changes I need to make to the tax lot lines, and then regrow those, reconstruct those from the seed. That really hard to follow with me just saying it like that. If I was running a little,
it's not actually, that makes perfect sense, and
Okay.
that sounds a very efficient way to do it.
that wasn't how I did it initially. And I kind of stumbled onto that after one of the meetups. I was playing around with that shrink to seed and reconstruct from seed. And I realized, wow, this is just a lot faster. I think the big one for me too was I make a copy of my parent tax lots and then set the originals to historic. So I have those archived off as historic. And then I just mess with the new ones. And I don't do that every time, but that's probably how most my boundary adjustments go now. Sometimes I'll get into it just needs more drafting or more work than that. And I think that's a big thing. Once you get comfortable with the tools, you'll be able to tell what tool you need to use for each given revision.
And that's been just finding where the tools are.
Right. Yeah, just knowing where to click. And I got that from Frank's class, setting up this little right below the ribbon. So those are, my 6-8 tools, 10 tools I use for revisions most. I just put them there. So now when I, for some reason, need to go find one of these tools in the ribbon, I don't remember where they are because I've just got, my traverse is right there, my merge, my divide.
You just right click and add to ribbon or something? Is that how you did that? 'Cause I don't remember that.
I can walk you through that, Gabe.
Okay.
Just think about what tools you think you're going to be wanting to use.
It was really easy to add them up there. I haven't added any now in a while, but yeah, it was.
There's a customize.
Customize.
Yeah.
There it is. Customize ribbon.
Yeah.
And yep, you just pick the tools you want and copy them over, and
Nice.
you can rearrange what order they're in there, and just put kind of your most used stuff right up there.
Actually, it's the quick access toolbar one that you want to use.
That's it. Yeah, not the ribbon.
Yeah. Similar process, just
Yeah.
different doohickey.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, this has been excellent. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, Brian. We really appreciate it.
All right. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, thanks. I'm actually starting to understand